This is a review of Part B of Module 5 quiz. I'm going to go through about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 questions, and I'll pass through the ones that everyone did so well on. I will show this one. Thyroid gland, 92% got it correct. And as I review these questions, I will bring up the image like this. You see the thyroid gland composed of follicles. Hopefully, when you are trying to identify organs, you are going to enlarge them and look at the detail so that this will help you identify the organ. So that's the thyroid gland. 92% of the class got that correct. But some put ovary or parathyroid gland and uterus, and those are way off, so pay attention to the criteria, the diagnostic features of organs, because that's one of the main goals that you've been striving for all semester, and you should be able to do well on the final if you pay attention to the criteria. And also, it'll be Part C on the final, enlarge and look around to make sure that you understand what is being asked, okay? All right, so now I'm going to go to question 2, which was a question that said, which is the true statement about the structure encircled? Well, it was the crista ampullaris, and it's a part of the vestibular apparatus and in the semicircular canals. It's not in the cochlea, as some thought. 35% of the class said it contains hair cells that transmit sound into an impulse. It transmits directions by the way the fluid is moving. And I'm going to show you that image right now. So this is the crista ampullaris in the semicircular canals. And it has specialized cells that sense this motion. And if you enlarge, you can see those. And there are nerve fibers, of course, connected to that with going out in here. But about roughly 35% of the class needs to review that to make sure you don't answer that if you're asked a question similar to that on the final exam. Okay, this question asked you to identify the organ, and the correct answer was the prostate gland. At 68%, approximately, of the class got that correct, but about 9% thought it was uterus, and then there were a variety of answers. In fact, almost all possible answers that were incorrect were chosen except for the oviduct. So let's just look at this image, the prostate gland. Here it is. Now, again, you're asked to identify the organ, and so you look around, you see a lot of eosinophilic, and it's stained, unless you're told differently, the specimen stained with H&E. So all this intense eosin is most likely staining cytoplasm. And if you zoom in on this, almost all of that eosinophilic, acidophilic staining is in smooth muscle cells. So this organ has lots of smooth muscle cells. But it also has basophilic areas, and those basophilic areas, you see our epithelial cells that are arranged around lumens. So this suggests that it's glandular. So now you're thinking, okay, lots of muscle, that could be uterus. And actually some people, I think, did choose uterus, but did not look carefully at the organization of these epithelial tissues, because the endometrium would be on the surface here, but this is scattered throughout the organ. So a lot of smooth muscle, uterus, certainly couldn't be blood vessels or GI tract, doesn't fit that pattern at all. And so hopefully you thought of prostate, and then in order to, so you've got the glandular portion of the prostate, you've got the smooth muscle cells in making up the bulk of the stroma of the gland. And so you zoom in and looking for these concretions, and there's one right there. There are not many here, but that helps to seal it. Anyway, this will remind you to review the prostate gland. Okay, the next question most missed was question number 9. And the statement is a true and false statement. This organ conducts urine. And the answer was false. So, but some thought it was true. So if it was conducting urine, then you suspect it would be the ureter. And what is the ureter lined with? Transitional epithelium. So let's check it out. Here is the structure. And you're going to want to know what the epithelial lining is. So when you look at this, definitely this is not transitional epithelium. It's typical of the vas deferens, a pseudostratified type epithelium. So, and lots of smooth muscle. You could see cross sections of smooth muscle cells, an inner layer. You've got a middle layer that's circular smooth muscle cells, and then you have an outer layer here that is cross sections. These are longitudinal run smooth muscle cells, circular here and inner longitudinal. So this is a vas deferens, and so there's no way it's conducting urine. The next question that most of the class missed, that is about 33% of the class missed this question. Identify the organ. The correct answer was a uterus, but some thought it was, let's see, 5% or 6% thought it was vagina. Some thought it was a seminal vesicle. Some thought it was the prostate gland, and some thought it was the cervix, and some thought it was the adrenal gland. So let's take a look at that specimen. Here it is. Now, again, you see a lot of red or acidophilic staining. So you suspect, well, a lot of muscle. And you zoom in on that, and you would be correct. There's lots of muscle in this gland. Here's some longitudinal section of smooth muscle cells out here. And if you look more inside, you're going to see lots of smooth muscle cells here. And that's true. So you might be thinking, again, the prostate. But look, you do not have epithelial cells scattered throughout the gland. The epithelial cells are here, and they're on the lumen side of the gland. And so that fits the pattern of the uterus, the endometrium. And this would be the proliferative stage where the glands are still growing, and they haven't actually undergone too much folding. And so this would be a lot of mitosis here to increase the length of these glands stimulated by estrogen. Okay, so that's the uterus, and you can see that this does not fit the vagina because the vagina has what kind of epithelium? Stratified, squamous, non-keratinized epithelium. Also with those cells containing a lot of glycogen, similar to the oral cavity. Seminal vesicles, no, that has a lot of folds with epithelial covering it. And we just talked about the prostate gland. Can't be the cervix. The cervix would be stratified squamous, non-keratinized epithelium. The adrenal gland, of course, has 3 layers to it, the zona fasciculata, glomerulus, and reticularis. And so I think you should review the differentiation of the uterus. Okay, here's question 21. And several examples of the same cell type are indicated by arrows. Identify the cell type. Well, the cell indicated was a primary spermatocyte. You can see the answers we initially accepted, and then we discovered one other one that a student in the class typed in, and actually I think it was just one student, primary spermatocyte cell. We added that and regraded. So here's the specimen. It's a high magnification of a seminiferous tubule. Actually, it's a very nice one. You can see all the layers. You can see spermatogonia here and here and here. You can see spermatozoa here. You can see spermatids here. But these cells that show the chromatin pattern, the chromosomes, those are primary spermatocytes. And remember that that after dividing, these primary spermatocytes produce secondary spermatocytes, but they are so short-lived that it's almost impossible to catch those in a histological section. So I think you can see, I mean, some students put follicular cells, principal cells, Sertoli cell. Sertoli cell, this is a Sertoli cell here with an oval nucleus, and maybe another one here and another one here, and also here and here. And some people put thyroid follicular cell. And I just do not believe that whoever put that is thinking clearly. Again, you can decrease the magnification in these, and you can look around, and you can zoom in, and then you can go back and go like this. Now, if during the final exam your image fails to load, then the first thing you should do is to close this tab and click in Blackboard on the link again and see if it loads. If not, get right out of everything, close your browser, and go right back in, and it should work. Okay, the last question I'm going to comment on is question number 25. This question stated, identify the organ based on the tissue outside of the dotted line encircling a different organ. Well, the answer was pancreas, and only 71% got it correct. And you can see what other people chose. And when I demonstrate this, I think you will agree that none of these make any sense to identify. So be sure to review the features of the pancreas and do not be thrown off by something unusual. You have to examine it carefully. So here is the specimen, and this is what was circled. And this is actually, if you look at the lining here, this is actually a large blood vessel. Okay, so you're asked about all this tissue out here. What organ is that? So let's take a look at high magnification. Well, you see glandular epithelial tissue, you see ducts here, and then if you, out here are glandular cells, and they look like they're organized into a acini. You see here's a fairly good example of a sinus where you see the eosinophilic granules, and you see the nuclei at the base, and the base is stained basophilic, which means it must have a lot of rough ER there. But now we're still, this could be one of the salivary glands. Could possibly be a parotid gland. I don't see any mucus acini here, but I do see a lot of adipose tissue, white adipose tissue scattered out. So if I want to differentiate between the salivary glands, of course, pure serous acini is prostate, and a mixed would be submandibular gland, and if it's all mucus acini, then it would be the sublingual gland. But the other possibility is the pancreas. And so what am I going to look for in the pancreas? Islets. And so right here, there's an islet. And here's another islet. So do you understand, if you do not zoom in and look around and think about what features, then you will miss the question. Okay, so hopefully that helps, and this concludes the review of Part B of Module 5 quiz.